Have you ever heard that veganism is a great way to lose weight? It's actually better to eat plant-based diet and basically cut out all the animal products. Is that true or not? That's what we cover in this video. But before we go there, click the subscribe button because on this channel, you're going to learn how to build a strong, high-performing, healthy, and sexy physique as a successful entrepreneur without all the BS that this industry has you believe that you have to do, like starvation, cardio, or cutting out carbs. You don't have to do any of that. So click that subscribe button and let's go. What's up, everyone? This is Coach Amir from 7figurebody.com. And in today's video, we're going to cover one of the worst weight loss diets ever invented in history of humankind, even though I have to say this fitness industry is basically a competition of who is going to come up and win with a dumber, more nonsensical diet. That's essentially what this industry is. But veganism is really up there. Here's why. Now, of course, I've talked before about fasting zealots, keto zealots, carnivore zealots, and of course, all of these people, this is their religion and this is their identity. So, we get a lot of hate, which I find hilarious, but it's time to get some hate from vegans too. Okay, because this group is probably up there in the zealotry, levels of, oh, it's the best thing, what do you know? So, joking aside, let's talk about what the actual physiology, what actual science says about vegan diet. Okay, so first thing, a lot of times you'll hear this is the only diet of all the fad diets out there. It doesn't matter which one it is. This is the only diet that's going to inherently leave you deficient in a bunch of things. We know that vegan diet is basically what it is by cutting out all the meats and animal products, you're going to end up with a low-fat diet because most of what they eat, legumes and vegetables, they don't really have a lot of fat. Yes, they're going to say, well, we eat nuts and we eat avocado. Yes, they probably do, but very little of it. So it ends up unintentionally, veganism ends up being a low-fat diet. We know physiologically that healthy fats, usually from animal products, is what literally creates sex hormones like testosterone for men and estrogen for women. That's why a very high incidence of infertility for vegan women is very common, and for vegan men, basically they all have low testosterone. Why? Because your testosterone is produced by healthy fats and they don't eat enough of them. Testosterone doesn't have anywhere to be produced from. So vegan men, low testosterone, vegan women, high incidence of infertility. The moment these vegan women start eating some naturally occurring saturated fats, guess what? All of a sudden fertility goes up, their hormones are normal, they get pregnant. Go figure. But what are the things that you've heard often that vegan diet leaves you deficient in? Number one, vitamin B12, also calcium, because you're, cutting out dairy and basically the main source of calcium in the human body, or for the human body is dairy and milk, dairy products. You cut all that. And we know that naturally occurring calcium in plants is very poorly absorbed by the human body. So basically, if you're getting your calcium from, non-animal sources, your body's going to be deficient in calcium. Also, there's iodine deficiency, there's vitamin D deficiency, and of course, by all means, vegan diet, by definition, when people become vegan and start eating that way, basically they eat even less protein than they ate before, and we know that an average person under-eats protein to begin with. Again, not according to RDA, which is the recommended daily allowance, because that one is way too low. According to the actual evidence-based conclusions about 0.7 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Nobody eats that much normally, and when you go vegan, you actually eat even less because it's so much harder. Now think of it this way, it's so much harder to get your protein in. So think of it this way, for meat eaters, basically, what happens is, what do proteins come with? Well, they either come alone, for example, lean protein like poultry, chicken breast, turkey breast, they have protein and water and no carbs and no fats. So there's just protein. There's tuna, just protein. There's, all the white fish, just protein, pretty much nothing else. Minimal or no fat and no carbs, just protein. And of course, fattier sources have protein and fats, like, all the red meats, steaks, bacon, eggs, salmon, all the fattier fish, they have protein and fat combined. If you look at plant-based protein sources, they basically come with protein and a ton of carbs. Very little protein actually, and a ton of carbs. So it's hilarious when people say, I get all my protein from peas and beans. Really? Like, do you know how many calories and how many carbs you have to get in order to get 100 grams of protein from beans, like you will die. First, you will die from, farting so much, nobody's going to want to be around you, and you will die from your own farts, number one, if you ate that much. Number two, we know that the plant-based proteins have lower bioavailability compared to the animal protein sources. Therefore, you need about 20% more. So if you actually wanted to get 100 grams of protein that you would get from, eating 4 ounces of, chicken breast is about, let's say 25 grams of protein. So you need, 4 times that. So you need 16 ounces of some lean protein a day, for example, to get 100 grams of protein. To get that same 100 grams of protein from plant-based sources, you're going to have to get 120 grams, like 20% more. And knowing that, that's also going to bring a ton of carbs with it unintentionally. Again, not to say that vegans say we need to cut fats. It just ends up being high carb, low fat, low protein diet. So if you know the proteins are essential for life, the most important macronutrient. Second, essential for life is fats. Carbs are not essential for life. So you need protein and fats. You don't need carbs to live. That's actually what, keto and carnivore and all these high fat, low carb diets have in common that's good is people actually eat more protein on these diets, which is by all means a good thing. You will not die doing that. On the other hand, vegan diet is a high carb, low fat, low protein diet. So the two things you need to live, you have not enough of, and one thing you don't need to live, you have too much of because it's a high carb diet. It's a terrible diet, like a really terrible diet for health. Now, of course, where are all the, when this is the case physiologically, this is taking all the emotions out, whether you like it or don't like it. And again, guys, I forgot to say initially, this is not for vegans. This video is not for vegans. If you are a vegan, you already bought into it, it's the greatest thing ever. This is not for you. Just put your hate comments in below and then just leave. This is not for you. Who this video is for is a thinking entrepreneur who was considering trying vegan diet because he or she heard that it might be healthier, it might be better. It's actually not. It's horrible for you. It really is. But it's all about comparing to what? Guys, remember one thing. Standard American Diet, acronym for that is SAD, which is actually a very, very appropriate acronym, SAD. The only way to get worse than that is to eat more of these foods, because basically Standard American Diet is, I'm gonna have some Twinkies or cereal for breakfast, so high carb, low protein. Then I'm gonna have, KFC for lunch and McDonald's or pizza for dinner, right? That kind of diet, it's very, very, very hard to come up with anything worse. Again, the only thing that would be worse than that is just eating more of that, right? But any diet out there, including veganism, keto, low carb, low fat, paleo, carnivore, is gonna be better than this, because this is the worst. Like Standard American Diet truly is sad. It's horrible. So anything compared to that is better, okay? Now, why is this a debate even? Like, why would somebody even consider, why would veganism be so popular? Well, in the past, I used to kind of just dismiss this as people just are not thinking. However, later on, as I've had some vegan clients and actually saw that these are people are thinking, intelligent people, they actually allowed me to, or educated me enough to realize that the reason that somebody becomes vegan, again, just in my experience, I don't know what actually people do. Is it true? To what level is it true? But here's the experience of my clients that have been vegan. They love animals so much, truly love them so much that they hate suffering of animals. By the way, I love animals and I hate animal suffering, certainly. But there is a way to humanely do this properly, where you have farms where animals are treated in a proper way. They have everything they need. They're normally walking around, and then, when the time comes, yes, they are sacrificed for our food, but that's just how it is. If you don't, I always say there's a huge debate that we could have about the actual environmental impact of that is way worse than let's just not, eat animals, whatever, but I don't want to go into that. But generally, people love animals so much, and they say, hey, I just can't stand animals being killed to be my food. That's why I'm going to be vegan. And then once they're already there, confirmation bias leads them to look for the proof or evidence that vegan diet is actually healthier for you, better for your health than something else. And of course, they find what they're looking for, even if it's not true, because these days, you can find research to prove anything you want. Like, take a hammer, smash yourself in the head 20 times a day, there's a science out there, probably some kind of study that can conclude that's actually better and good for your skull to get stronger if you hammer yourself 20 times a day. So you can find proof for almost anything if you look for it. And of course, you cut out all the actual evidence, cut out, you know nothing about science, you just look for whatever doctor who's overweight himself or is of terrible health and can't do half a push-up, which is most of these vegans. They basically look like starved, 11-year-old girls, body-wise. Like, that's not the picture of health by any means, okay? But that's neither here nor there. Now, let's think of this. Let's say you're already decided, I'm gonna try veganism. Is there a way to make it so that you're not deficient in everything? Unfortunately, you have to take supplements, okay? So by the way, if any diet out there tells you, I'm gonna, this diet that you do, you're gonna end up being deficient, so you have to take supplements, it just tells you that that's not an optimal diet. Now, I do have to say, I didn't say this is the only diet that inherently leaves you deficient. That's not true. In theory, it is. In practice, it's not. Why? Because, for example, carnivore diet, which is the newest current fad, that all the people are like, oh my God, carnivore is the best. If you say anything against carnivore, which I have in my videos, then there's hate comments by very confused people. And again, I'm always talking about weight loss. If somebody has such severe autoimmune diseases or some kind of, food sensitivities that doesn't allow them to eat almost anything, including all the vegetables and all the fruit, and the only thing they can eat is carnivore diet, awesome. You should do that because you have a serious medical condition. I'm not talking about that. What I am talking about is people, 80% of adults in the US, like whatever, 270 million people are overweight. They're not have, any kind of disease or anything. They're just overweight. They want to lose weight. And they look at carnivore diet as a way to do that, which is a horrible way to lose weight because you're going to get it all back. Same thing with veganism. Well, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not vegan for, weight loss. How many people actually do veganism in order to lose weight? My guess is vast majority of them do that to initially lose weight. Later on, they may say, oh, this is actually healthy or not healthy or whatever it is, but most people are just trying to lose weight. So in that context of weight loss, when somebody says carnivore diet should be used, nose to tail, you should eat the whole animal, including the liver and kidneys and all the other parts of the animal, and then you won't be deficient. You're going to get everything you need because essentially, liver is basically like a multivitamin pill. Like it's got all the, everything you need in there. However, in real world, when somebody goes carnivore, what happens? They basically just started eating steaks and eggs all day and butter, and that's it. They don't eat liver. They don't eat any of the other parts of the animal. So are they going to be deficient on a carnivore diet? Absolutely. Of course they will. So veganism is not the only diet that keeps somebody inherently deficient. In practical world, most people are going to be deficient in all of these extreme diets. Anytime you have a diet that basically cuts out complete food groups, you're going to be deficient in something. In vast majority of people doing that diet are going to be deficient in something. Just like are most carnivore zealots going to be deficient in most of the vitamins? Yes, they have to take it from a pill. Like you got to take a actual supplement to not be deficient. On the other hand, what if you had a normal diet that includes all the fats and carbs and protein and vegetables and all the whatever other vegetables and greens that you can stomach properly? Are you going to then be deficient? Maybe, but the chances are very, 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 very low. You're probably going to get enough of everything that you need. Now, of course, that's a longer conversation. Our soil has been compromised and polluted, and it doesn't have nearly as many nutrients as it used to 50 years ago. That's true. But again, when you go on a vegan diet, you're guaranteed to be deficient. When you go on a carnivore diet in the way the normal person does it, an average person does it, you're guaranteed to be deficient. If you eat, meats and vegetables and fruit and all the greens, are you guaranteed to be deficient? No, you're not. You're probably going to be healthier than pretty much doing anything else. So please, guys, remember, I also like to say, wherever there's like zealotry group and like high levels of zealotry where they dismiss everything else, their way is the best way, always know that basically where majority is going, majority is always wrong. So never do that. That's actually a very golden rule, very good, useful to, utilize all the time is what most people are doing, given that most people are overweight, broke, and miserable, whatever majority is doing, don't do that. Do the opposite of it, which basically means don't do the fad diets, whatever they are. A month from now, a year from now, there's going to be a new carnivore, new veganism, new whatever else. There's going to be a bunch of new fad diets, and people never really lose weight and keep it off on any of those. So that's my, I was trying to make this a shorter video, but it ended up being a longer one. But you know, veganism is such a huge like movement these days, and it's pretty sad to see that all these people are going to be deficient and unhealthy, and you know, bones being weaker and like all of these things because of lack of calcium and yada yada. It's just sad at the end of the day, just like standard American diet. Anyways, guys, I hope you like this video, and let the hate comments from vegans begin in the comments below. Those of you guys who like the video and actually find it useful, please share that. Click the share and like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.